bringing you all the latest Nottoway County High School and Bearcat sports each week.
10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45.
Starring Aaron Sorensen and John Dykstra on the Maryville Forum Sports Podcast.
He ran it back 109 yards. They're not going to keep him off the field.
Coming to you from the campus of Northwest Missouri State University. Welcome back to another edition of the Maryville Forum Sports Podcast. I'm Aaron Sorensen, joined here by John Dykstra. We're going to kick it off with talking a little Bearcat sports that happened over the weekend. Started with some Bearcat football on Saturday. Fort Hays State came to town. The Bearcats fell 17-16 to Fort Hays. That's the second year in a row here at home that Fort Hays came away with the win. Close game there, tough day for that for those seniors as it was senior day. John, looking into this game, tough game for them. Now we're looking for a split share of the conference. What did the Bearcats kind of take away from this game heading into next week?
Well, the offense that had been so good all year kind of reverted back and looked like an offense led by a lot of young players with a freshman quarterback and true freshman wide receiver out there playing a lot of snaps. They just struggled throughout. They had one drive early in the second half there to get a touchdown. But other than that, their other touchdown came on a Sean Bain punt return. A field goal drive, they didn't pick up a first down. Jack Richards intercepted it and got him down to the 15, and then Parker Sampson ended up kicking a field goal. There wasn't a lot that went right for Northwest. They missed an extra point, which obviously came back huge in a 1-point loss, 17-16 there. Just a lot of bad stuff kind of stacking up on the Bearcats this week, and that led to the second straight year of a 1-point loss to Fort Hays at home, which you just didn't think was going to happen going into this week with the way they'd been playing.
Yeah, and like you talked about, the offense struggled a little bit to kind of find any bit of a groove. Some of that credit does go to Fort Hays defense. They did look like they came in ready to stop that offense, but the Bearcats were just having 31 yards of total offense in the first half and only one first down. So that kind of speaks to just the slow moving and not a lot of production coming out of that offense in the first half.
I listened to it on the radio, to be honest, as I was driving back from state cross country, but it just sounded like they could not find a rhythm. They weren't going downfield, especially in the first half. It sounded like they did a little bit more in the second half, but they weren't testing that Fort Hays defense vertically like they've been doing with so many other teams, and with guys like Sean Bain and Jamie Taylor and guys who can get deep. That was probably a focus. I'm guessing they had those routes called. They just weren't there, so that's why Braden didn't throw it. But when you kind of limit the offense to more of those short passing game stuff, that's something that Fort Hays can stop and rally to the football and find a way to slow them down. So offensively, obviously not what you want to see going into the late part of the season here, but they're also young. They should learn from it, and I would guess we will see a much better offense next week when they go to Warrensburg to play Central Missouri.
Yeah, and like you said, in the second half, things started to move a little bit better. Not necessarily a full-on groove. We would see things that kind of look like the way Bearcats like to play the offense, and then most oftentimes down the stretch, maybe a silly penalty or something was going on. Late in the third quarter, Trey Washington had the interception. That was when it was 17-16 late in the third quarter, and I think Bearcat fans kind of felt that momentum going into the fourth quarter, and it just never really quite turned out for the Bearcats. But like you said, they look forward to next week playing UCM. That kickoff is at 1 p.m., so they definitely look to bounce back and finish off the regular season with a win.
Yeah, that momentum is so important, especially when you're playing in front of a home crowd that can kind of try to will you to victory. And even that touchdown drive they had early in that half, they get the touchdown to Tatum, a great catch from what it sounded like. But the next thing they do is they miss the extra point. So you just can never fully get that momentum under you. And Fort Hays was able to take advantage of it. They're a good team. They were also playing a freshman quarterback who performed well in really his first major action of his career to help them get that 14-0 lead very early. and then they were able to hang on. Northwest will, like you said, have a lot to learn from this going into next week.
Yeah, and I think Bearcat fans look forward to that. I think the guys especially will be really ready to get into practice this week and kind of correct some things and move on and just look forward. But they weren't the only Bearcat team in action on Saturday. Actually, Friday, Northwest Volleyball kicked it off. They were at Fort Hays, completed the sweep over Fort Hays, heading into a tough Saturday for the Bearcat volleyball team where they would face University of Nebraska-Kearney again, kind of that elusive match that we talked about. They saw them pretty early in the season at home, lost in 5. The story was pretty much the same last night. The Bearcats fell in 5. It was a tough game all the way through. Most of the sets were pretty close. The girls played very well, I thought. There were a few moments that they will look to clean up. But the Bearcats, the key that you can take out of this for the Bearcat volleyball team, they did secure the 4th spot in the MIAA tournament, so they will play at home against UCM on Tuesday. And talking to some of the girls after the game, that was what they were most looking forward to. They were upset and frustrated with the win, but they're ready to get back for the tournament and hopefully see University of Nebraska-Kearney again in the tournament.
Yeah, just following along with stats last night, too, they were a very balanced offense. I tweeted about that in that first set. And they a little bit got away from that. Hallie Sidney was still very good. Sophia Schleppenbach was still very good. But they relied more and more on Maddie Bruder as that game went on. And they were still effective doing it. But it wasn't quite that balanced offense that you like to see them when they are clicking like they were in that first set. And that seems to just give Kearney enough to get back into it. But we shouldn't be taking too many negatives from that because Kearney is the number 3 team in the country. It's not like we went and lost. If they were lost Friday against Fort Hays, there would have been more negatives to pull from it. But with Kearney being such a good team, able to take them to 5, there's a lot of positives you can glean out of that performance.
Yeah, definitely. I think they are. I think they're very focused. What I really appreciated from talking to the team was they were ready to head into Tuesday. They took the loss. They have things they need to work on, but they're already focused. And I definitely think Coach Worth is going to take this very serious. Not that she doesn't ever, but having her first home match in the tournament as a coach in her 7 years. I think she's very excited for it. But obviously, like you said, they relied a little bit more on Bruder. She had 27 kills. Hallie Sidney had 19. Schleppenbach had 10. And Sturdivant, the freshman, had 7. One thing I really want to mention, the senior libero, Olivia Nowakowski, she has been quite a staple in this program for 3 years. Last night watching the game, she was all over the place, just hustling, diving. She ended up having 40 digs. She's the only player who's posted 3 matches with over 40 digs in Northwest history. So congrats to her, just really showing what it means to want to win a game and to want to beat this University of Nebraska-Kearney team.
Yeah, and not to look ahead because you can't really with UCM coming in. We've obviously split with them during the regular season. Should be a great match Tuesday for everybody that's able to come out and check that out. But if you get by UCM, the likely second-round opponent is Nebraska-Kearney again. So maybe we get that. Maybe it's a third time's the charm type of thing, and it would be very sweet to do it in the MIAA tournament. But that is a potential matchup down the road. Like I said, should we be able to get by UCM on Tuesday night at Bearcat Arena?
Yeah, and it is notable to say in our section of the bracket, if we make it past Central Missouri, it would probably more than likely be that Kearney matchup. And on the bottom half, you have UCO and Washburn, and UCO actually swept Washburn on Friday. So that 1 and 2 team this whole time has really kind of been Kearney and Washburn, but you could possibly see maybe a 3 and a 4 seed going in for the championship. So you never know what's going to happen. There could be some underdogs that rise up in this tournament.
And UCO is a team that I can't get a handle on. I don't watch as much MIAA volleyball as maybe you do, but they managed to beat Washburn on Friday, and that's what set up Northwest with the chance to win and get a share of the MIAA tournament. but then they go in and they lose to Emporia State the next day. So they're an up and down team, but they can clearly beat anybody, and they could get upset by anybody. So that might be a first round matchup to watch, besides the obvious one of UCM and Northwest.
Yeah, it definitely could. I think this tournament, if you're any sort of a volleyball fan or MIAA fan, there will definitely be some big games for you to watch and to really quite enjoy. But man, everything, it's the busiest time of year right now. It seems like we've got sports overlapping here. We're going to take it over to the basketball court. Northwest men have begun their season last night in St. Joe, and that kind of takes me to my athlete of the week this week. Kind of somebody that's not on a lot of people's radars yet, and that's the redshirt freshman Trevor Hudgens. I was not able to go to the game last night. I was able to watch it, though, on the MIAA network, and man, he just played with no fear. He did not look like a freshman out on the court. Really just kind of, I don't want to compare him to Justin Pitts because, as McCollum said last week, that's not fair to either of them. But just driving to the basket, not being afraid of who's in his way, moving the ball around, scored 25 points, 4 steals, and 5 assists. Just a great game for him. Stayed pretty steady through the whole entire 4 quarters. John, is this an exciting thing for the Bearcats to not only get their first win of the season against a tough opponent, but to see a guy like Trevor kind of take that role and run with it?
Oh, it definitely is. He definitely kind of shouldered that lead offensive creator and playmaker role yesterday, and did it. It sounded like I wasn't there either. I listened to it on the radio, but it sounded like he was pushing the ball a lot and kind of doing it a little differently than Justin, getting into that offense really quick, maybe not relying on late shot clock moves like Justin was so great at doing for so long, bleeding that clock down and then finding a way to wiggle to the basket. He was being aggressive, and that's what you like to see out of a young guard. The 25 points is really impressive, but he also had a bunch of assists, a few steals. Just good to see him being aggressive and getting after it, and it's what you need out of that point guard spot. So break in another freshman at that spot is very exciting to see.
Yeah, and it is exciting, because if he keeps producing, even though this is just game 1 of his first season, if he continues to grow and produce, this could be a great 4 years for him and for Bearcat fans everywhere. But watching him play last night, obviously right now Joey Wittes is kind of that, you would say, leader out there. He's been with the team. It was nice to see Trevor Hudgens out there too, very calm. A lot of the guys who were looking to him, a couple of times, I think they had 3 or 4 offensive rebounds. They kicked it out. They were looking to Trevor to see what he was going to set up and what they were going to run next. So it was really just a lot of fun watching them all play, watching them click. And an unexpected for me, maybe a lot of other people expected it, was seeing Kirk Finley get the start last night. And he was pretty clutch down the stretch with some big free throws there in overtime to kind of seal the Bearcats' win.
Yeah, I don't think the person who makes the game notes for the game was expecting it either, because Kirk wasn't listed as a starter. They had the all-freshman backcourt with Diego Bernard and Trevor back there, but then game time rolls out and Coach McCollum goes with the veteran, and Finley rewarded him. It was a very good game for him. Didn't light up maybe any particular area of the stat sheet, but he sounded like he was just a steady presence out there for him. Good defense, was able to knock down a few shots, grab quite a few rebounds for him, and just do a lot of things out there, a lot of the dirty work out there to let Trevor have the game that he had, let Joey have the game he had, and open things up for them. So definitely a positive with how Kirk performed. Yeah, the other thing that stood out to me from that game was just the workload that those guys put in, especially Trevor with 42 minutes out there and doing what he did and being that so consistent, despite, I'm sure, that being the most minutes he's probably ever played in a game, considering just playing in high school games and not being as long a games. He wasn't the only one. Coach McCollum kind of leaned on that starting unit. and they really performed well out there.
Yeah, they did. Like you said, Trevor had those 42 minutes. Joey Wittis had 43, which is not unexpected for any of us because we knew Joey kind of being that veteran out of this team that he was going to get some time. Ryan Hawkins had 45 minutes and Ryan Wiltsey had 42. So a lot of those guys putting in big minutes, really helping the team get to this win, and most of them producing throughout the whole entire game. So fatigue did not really seem to be an issue for those guys at all.
Yeah, they definitely just performed well, and they have no rest as we record here on a Sunday afternoon. I'll be headed down to watch them play Ferris State tonight, the defending national champions. They beat the defending national runner-up in Northern State, obviously, yesterday. So I have a chance to knock off both finalist teams in the same weekend here. So we'll see if that game can provide the highlights that this one did. But just a great start to the season for such a young team and how they are developing and going into it. I don't know if a lot of people thought they would win yesterday just because they are so young and they are so inexperienced, I guess, and unproven. But a few guys, Trevor included, definitely proved some things yesterday, so that's just great to see.
Yeah, they definitely did, and it was a big day for them to kind of notch that first win in against quite an opponent. And with a young team, there's a lot of uncharted waters here, but with a coach like Ben McCollum, I think the sky's kind of the limit for this team here, especially within the next 3 years as a lot of these young guys continue to grow. As we talked about Justin Pitts a little bit earlier there and talking about big shoes to fill for Trevor Hudgens, and we kind of just like to see where such a big staple in the Bearcat program is at now. So John had the moment to catch up with Justin and kind of talk about where his future is going.
Got another opportunity overseas here. Just how excited are you to have the opportunity to go to another country, obviously with Spain, and have the opportunity to continue your career over there?
Yeah, for most, I'm just excited to get to playing again. It's been some months, probably seven or 8 months that last time I played, and last time was here, and it didn't end the way I wanted it to end. So I'm just excited to play, and happened in Germany. It was unfortunate that I fractured my foot again, and I had to take about 8 weeks off. So I'm just excited to get over to Spain and meet my new teammates.
Is it the same thing that you had here? Is it the same foot and same everything, basically?
Same everything. And it happened I got over there, I practiced for a week, and then it started to get swollen, and figured that it was the same thing. So.
Gotcha. What have you heard about? Obviously, Spain has a good reputation from basketball worldwide and everything. What do you know about everything going into it over there, and what are you excited about?
I've heard nothing but good things. It's a good league to start into. So that's what I'm excited about. Good exposure over in Spain. You play good in Spain, you can do a lot of things over in Europe. But other than that, I'm just excited to get over there.
Obviously, you've been laid up with the foot for a while. What have you been doing over these last, whatever you said, 7 months to get ready for this next opportunity? And have you been in Maryville most of the time, or what's been going on with you, I guess?
When I got back from Germany, I was in Texas for the 7 weeks.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
7 weeks, and then once I realized I could play again, I went to the doctor and got the X-rays and all that, and it was healed. So I came back up here, of course, and the past month I've been practicing with the team, doing workouts, Coach Mack every once in a while, playing noon ball with them. So just trying to get back in shape, and it's been fun up here. Love Maryville. Always good to come back.
Yeah, Austin mentioned you were involved in those noon ball games. Are those the best to get you ready for professional basketball right there with AP and Ben, obviously, and all those guys?
Yeah, it's actually not terrible.
Yeah.
Actually. You get a lot of conditioning. That's mostly why I do it. It's to get back in shape and get a rhythm for playing again. And then I practiced with them for about 2 weeks before the real season started. So I think I'm in shape and I'm ready to go.
Austin said you were kind of the MVP of those games here lately. So what's that been like practicing with these guys? Obviously, they have a lot to replace. I don't have to tell you, but you four seniors being gone. What have you seen from them practicing? How excited are you to kind of, obviously from afar, but to keep track of how they do this year?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited because they're a talented group, but they're young. But I think they're going to be pretty good this year. They got a lot of young guards that are pretty explosive, quick, can knock down shots and create plays for other players. So, I mean, I'm just excited to see how the year turns out for them.
Have you had any advice yet for those young guards? I know Diego's one, Zave's another, obviously. Trevor, you got to play with him last year,
yeah.
But have you had any advice that you've been able to share with them going into this?
I mean, I mostly try to tell them to just go out there and play and not be nervous. I mean, just go out there and make plays for your teammates and make your teammates better, and then everything else will fall into place. You'll win a lot of games doing that.
I think Bearcat fans are also kind of curious about the women's program, and you obviously have a great relationship with Austin. How excited were you to see Austin get his shot here coming up?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I'm most excited about because he was a great coach for us, and I know he's going to be a great coach for the women's team. And I'm excited for him to turn this program around and get them back to where they need to be, winning games.
What's the schedule like for you now? You said you were taking off Friday, right? So are you getting there for preseason camp, or are they in the middle of their season? What's the schedule like for you these next couple weeks?
I go back to Kansas City tomorrow. Tomorrow's my last day. I leave Saturday, and they're in their 5th game right now.
Okay, yeah. So early on.
Yeah, early on, so I'm not missing too much. So
we kind of touch on everything, but last one to have you go. I'm pretty sure I know what your number one memory as a Bearcat is, probably winning that title. But what's your favorite maybe non-national championship memory of being here and being a 4-year starter for the Bearcats?
I mean, I think of all the relationships I've built these past 5 years that I've been here. The teammates, there's a bond with every single team that I've had. I mean, it can't be replaced. So I think that's one of the great memories that I'll always cherish here is the people.
That works.
We're going to switch things up a little bit, head over to some Spoofhound sports, and do some Spoofhound football here.
Yeah, and that leads right into my athlete of the week from this week. Junior wide receiver, although you could argue quarterback this week, Tate Oglesby. And Tate came out, did what you expect him to do on the field, catching a touchdown from his wide receiver spot there in the 2-minute drill. A great thrown ball by starting quarterback right now, Tyler Hare, in that 2-minute drive, like I said. But he also got some reps at quarterback where he hadn't played since his freshman year, but he completed a couple big, deep passes, threw for a touchdown, and did a lot of things on defense where he plays cornerback. He had an interception on the game's opening possession. So just a big game all around from Tate, a guy who Coach Matt Webb isn't afraid to use in different spots and really lean on, and he rewarded that this week in a big semifinal win over Chillicothe in a game that wasn't even really as close as the final score indicated because they controlled that game from start to finish.
And it's definitely just kind of another big Spoofhound win. It's exciting to see some of these guys kind of take over while there have been some injuries that the Spoofhounds have kind of had to deal with. But Tyler Houchin, he's been reliable throughout the entire season. He was able to play Friday night, and he looked pretty good there for the Spoofhounds, kind of getting things done, and just really a part of this offense that a lot of guys get yards and make plays on the offense. As Matt Webb said, it's about spreading the ball around.
Yeah, Tyler Houchin had 14 carries for 143 yards and 3 touchdowns in this game. He was just that reliable presence back there that Coach Webb and his father, Matt Houchin, knew that he could just dial up a play. Anytime you give it to him, he's going to get you positive yards. And a big game from senior Corbin Cook as well. He had 7 carries for 88 yards and a 42-yard touchdown on the opening drive. So Corbin's kind of stepped into a little bit of the role that Eli had as that big play back to kind of complement and take some of the pressure off Houchin. And right now it's just really rolling for them. And then you throw in Tate's exploits at receiver. Things are going well for the Spoofhounds right now, and hopefully as we get farther into this playoff action, you're going to get some of those guys back as Eli has his knee injury, and you might see him back this week against Savannah for the district title. And if they get him back, that'll obviously help that offense even more and give them more weapons. Same thing for Ben Walker and Connor Weiss. They each should be approaching that comeback in the next couple weeks here. So that will just continue to give them more weapons offensively. And with some of these guys getting reps that maybe wouldn't have gotten reps against first-team defenses before, the confidence level should just be sky high as those guys come back, and everybody's kind of rolling at the same time here. And you need to, because there's a couple big weeks coming up here with Savannah for the district championship this week. And if you get by them, it's likely Odessa in the state quarterfinals, the number one team in the state. We'll play them in the state quarterfinals at the Hound Pound. So the next couple weeks here should be some good tests for these Spoof Hounds.
Yeah, and the Spoof Hounds have been playing very well and getting out to a quick start and really kind of just dominating from there. So if you continue to get some of these guys back from the injury list, that just really kind of adds to the arsenal of weapons that this team has, especially as the strength of schedule continues to grow.
Yeah, you get deeper into the playoffs, you get better tests, and that's every week here. Savannah is a good team. Maryville was able to handle them fairly easily in Savannah just a couple weeks ago, but that was with guys like Eli Dallas and Ben Walker and Connor Weiss in the lineup. So without maybe at least a couple of those guys, it's going to be a tougher test this week. But some of those guys stepping in, one in particular has really stood out, and that's Tyler Hare at quarterback. The junior played behind Will Walker last year when Will led him to state, and now Ben, a sophomore stepping in, has played behind him too. So this is his opportunity to really shine, and he's taken advantage of it. Like I said, the most impressive drive of the night was probably that 2-minute drill to get him another touchdown at the end of the half there, and Tyler Hare hit Tate Oglesby on a couple out routes to get the ball moving down the field. Then he got a big play over the middle to Cade Gustafson, the tight end, and then dialed up Tate on a slant that Tate was asking for the whole way. He told Matt Ouchin that he'd beat his guy on the slant if they gave it to him, and sure enough, he did, and Tyler delivered a great ball for a touchdown with about 20 seconds left in the half. So Tyler Hare's just really stepped in and has limited the mistakes and done kind of what you want to see out of a quarterback in a Spoof Hound offense that's so reliant on the running game. So big tip of the cap to Tyler for his work the last couple weeks leading that offense, and now we'll see if he ends up getting the start or if they go to somebody like Tate or maybe even somebody else for the Savannah game. But regardless, it should be exciting, and it's always a big deal when you play for a district title.
Yeah, I'm sure Spoof Hound fans have loved every minute of watching this team, and I'm sure they're very much looking forward to the rematch with Savannah, and they hope that the second meetup goes just about as same as the first one. We're going to switch gears here a little bit. Cross country just kind of wrapped up in the area. John, what did you see from some area athletes?
There were some good performances out there. Like I said, in Jefferson City on Saturday, Ashley Riley, she's now a 4-time All-State runner, state champion last year, so a little disappointing, I guess you could say. She ended up taking 4th this week, but that's because of a absolutely stacked freshman group of runners in Class 1. A pair of twins from Blue Eye won it. They took 1 and 2. And then another freshman from Marion County took 3rd. So, and Ashley knew going in that those were going to be her top competitors, and she ended up 4th just behind, especially the second twin and the Marion County runner. She was just off their pace, and for that race, it was just really interesting to see all those young runners because Ashley's kind of the vet there, the senior, taking 4th, but the other 4, the top 5, were all freshmen. So pretty exciting for if you're a class 1 cross country fan. But And then her teammate, Sydney Billings, finished 31st, just missed getting some All-State honors that go to the top 25. But she had a very good performance for her first time at the state meet with a really kind of cruddy day out there to run with some rain, and it rained already, so the course was very muddy, and with a hilly course like that in mud, it added some extra elements into the race. But then the Class 1 boys race, Northwest Nottoway had a couple sophomores perform well. Preston Bateman, after he was angry with how he performed in districts, taking 10th at districts when he thought he should have been better than that, he finished just outside the top 50, which is a great spot for him to, in his first state action as well, to do that well. And then Duke Ingraham was 83rd, and he got caught behind early. He said he had a cramp early, which kind of limited his push out of the gate, and then he had to climb back up through the field. So all in all, pretty good performance for the Muskets as well. And then the Spoofhounds, they had 3 runners go. Garrett Dumke performed very well for them, finished 41st, had a good race. Again, it was his first time up there too, the sophomore, his first year out for cross country, and was able to perform well and run with those top runners up there and definitely represent well. Laura Fierbacher and Zach Kaiser, the other 2 qualifiers, didn't have their best races at state, which can happen sometimes. Like I said, it was very cold, and Coach Rodney Beatty talked about that afterwards, how he thinks that almost chilled, especially a guy like Zach Kaiser, who warmed up with a lot of layers and did all that, and kind of just got chilled right before when you take off all those layers and get ready to run. So he that certainly played into that a little bit, but they are certainly ready for next year, as neither team had a senior on the team this year. So they are definitely built for the future, and that experience should only help them moving forward.
Yeah, that's definitely exciting for them, and especially we talked a lot of sports, especially basketball today too, that having a group of young athletes that are performing well early is very exciting to see.
Yeah, they won't slow down. For really all of those teams, Platte Valley girls do lose both Riley and Billings, so that'll hurt them. But really, Northwest Nottoway returns all of their really key guys. They lose one varsity runner, and that's it. And then the Spoofhounds, like I said, they're just loaded with young talent, and next year should be a very bright year for cross country.
And I'm sure Spoofhound fans are definitely looking forward to that, especially those cross-country kids getting another shot to see where they can go and where they can finish. So we're kind of wrapping up the fall sports here, beginning winter sports. Things are starting to get a little crazy with some overlap here of sports, but you can follow up with all of those stories on the MaryvilleForum.com.
We're happy to be joined this week by Maryville Spoofhound boys basketball coach Matt Stoecklein as they get ready for their start to the season coming up rather shortly. You never quite know when you go into the year with how far football makes it. But coaches, how excited are you to get the season rolling and to get practice rolling the last week or so here?
Yeah, very excited about this season. I think we have a great team with some great leaders on it, some great upperclassmen, with some underclassmen too that could get some minutes there and help us a lot this year. But we're very, very excited about this year. Something
that kind of stands out is kind of the composition of the roster this year. You don't have a lot of traditional post players out there. How is that kind of exciting going into the year? I think everybody always loves to see some up-tempo style of basketball, but what are kind of the challenges and what are the advantages to having a a lineup like you might feature this year?
Yeah, some of the advantages would be that we think we can put out 8 people out there at least that can shoot the ball from the outside, that can run the floor, spread it out, cut, drive, and kick threes, and really play faster than we've played in the last 2 or 3 seasons. A disadvantage would be if we ever come across that team that has that great post player, who is going to be guarding the post player from the other team. So that's something we're going to have to figure out this year as time goes on.
Does Eli? You have a lot of versatile guys, but Eli Dallas kind of stands out as probably the most versatile. He ran point guard last year. You kind of changed that starting lineup a few times, but when Creed Stoecklein wasn't starting, it was more Eli running the point. What does he kind of give you that versatility you need to run a lineup like this? He's probably your best post defender going into this year as well. So.
Yeah, and unfortunately with that, he'd be our best post player defender. He's also one of our best, on the ball, guard type player that we have out there. So that's tough that we have to put him in the post and possibly get him in some foul trouble down there guarding some bigger guys. So we might have to mix some things up and double team the post with some other guys, maybe play a little bit more zone than we have in the past, and just mix things up a little bit more to prevent anything like that from happening.
And with a quick lineup kind of like this, and you talk about maybe a disadvantage being when you might see that big post player, but you can also kind of exploit that if you have 8 guys that are pretty quick, subbing in, moving the ball really well. One of those big guys is going to end up having to guard one of your guys, and if everybody can shoot, do you kind of look forward to making quick substitutions, keeping guys in there, and essentially keeping that big man on their toes if you face one like that?
You betcha. One of the people I think that they may be guarding would be Matthew Madden. Their post might be up against Matthew Madden, and he may be one of our best three-point shooters. Last year he was in the 40%, and this year after watching him the first week of practice and watching him shoot the ball very well, it'd be hard for them to guard us. So yes, that's absolutely an advantage there, spreading it out. But he's also this year back cutting really well and driving really well. So he's added a lot to his what he can do on the court.
Yeah, he's one of those 4. Look at the starting lineup you started during the summer. He's one of those 4 senior starters you had, and is that just a luxury going in with just 4 seniors out there who haven't all played 4 years of varsity basketball, but they've all played a lot of basketball, obviously. And then you throw in Tate too. He's a junior, but he's played a lot of ball too. So just how much of an advantage is that to have all those guys who have played a lot of basketball, not only just period, but played a lot of basketball together over the years?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we're cleaning out our basement, and I saw a picture with Matthew, Creed, Tyler, and Eli was on that. And I don't know how old they were, but they were pretty young. And they've been playing together for a very long time, and not just together, but also separately on other teams. And Tate, you mentioned, he's been playing a lot of basketball too down in Kansas City. And just we have a lot of experienced kids, and that's going to help us this year with the fact that you never know when you're going to get your football players back, which is a good thing because usually if the football team is really good, the basketball team can follow suit and we can have a pretty successful season too. But that's always a problem. But once again, like I said, they have a lot of experience growing up as kids playing in the summer, and hopefully we can take advantage of that.
And with kind of a successful season last year, but maybe not exactly where you wanted it to end, what do you kind of get these guys in practice every day and build a mentality to kind of go where you want to go this season?
Yeah, we started practice this week, of course, without football players, but we did get some cross-country kids and some soccer kids back, so that really helped our numbers. I think it put us up at 20 right now without the football kids. And we weren't scrimmaging very well, and there was a behind-the-back pass from one of our seniors, and, I'd mentioned something about, will you do that against a Hogan Prep type team? And he's like, well, no, then we can't do that kind of stuff here. And that comment right there, just mentioning Hogan Prep, mentioning quarterfinals, and it kind of brought them around. And then the next, last part of our scrimmage was really awesome. They really kicked it up a notch. So hopefully I won't have to constantly remind them, why we're here right now, why we're practicing, is because we want to make sure it doesn't end like it did the last 2 years against the Hogan Prep type team in the quarterfinals. And, one of our sayings this year is #30. Last 2 years, we played 29 games. We were 24-5 both seasons, and we came away 1 game short of going to the Final Four, and that's one of our biggest goals there, is get there and then to finish it. And so we've got to practice that mentality that we are trying to get ready for that moment all season.
Yeah, those high expectations are definitely huge this year. Big motivator for the guys for sure. We talked about the starters a little bit with. In case anybody's missed the potential starting lineup, at least Creed Stoecklein, Eli Dallas, Tate Oglesby, Matthew Madden, and Tyler Houchin all have played a lot of basketball. But who are some of those guys off the bench that you're really hoping to see step up this year? And with a faster style of pace, you probably need to use that bench maybe even a little bit more this year. So who are some of those guys off the bench that really stand out, especially in the early going in practice here and with all the stuff you guys did over the summer as well?
Yeah, based off this summer, and then just getting Jaden Hayes back from soccer, because they had a really good soccer season this year, come up a little bit short against St. Pius, but him coming back and his defensive, he's not very big looking, but he must have the longest arms because he gets so many steals and can do so many good things, and I really look for him to really add to that rotation and play a tremendous amount of minutes, and very exciting what that kid can do. And then after that, we have sophomore Ben Walker, who played a lot for us this summer, played a lot of varsity minutes this summer, and looked really good too. And just he was that guy that just fed off those upperclassmen. He'd basket cut, he'd do this, and then we'd find him, and he'd get easy shots inside. And then Tylen Perry was our 8th kid that got a lot of minutes. And, the other day in practice, he looked really good. He was hitting some shots from the outside. He's really worked on that outside shot. And just his driving and his up-tempo speed that he can do has been tremendous. And then, we've got other kids that have never gone out before. We have a kid from, a couple kids transferred from another school that, it's hard to tell because some of them are still in football.
Yeah.
What they're going to be able to add to it, I have no idea because some of them I have never seen. And then some of them, we don't get to see with our mix until – and I unfortunately told him, I said, listen, you're going to walk into this. We're going to have a game on maybe Tuesday, and you may only get to practice on Monday. So, we'll have to just wait and see where you land. So you never know at the end of the season who's actually could be out there playing, but very excited.
Yeah, that's the extra element you guys get. There's the possibility, hopefully not a very likely possibility, that you play on the 20th against Jefferson, or the next week is the Savannah tournament, which you could play in, but of course the week after that is the state championship game for football. So it could be all the way to a season opener on December 3rd or December 4th, which would be that Tuesday at Benton. So with one day of practice before, so that's always a fun way to start the season. Is that almost more of a challenge for the guys you do have in practice right now, because they get a month plus of practice before possibly the first time they can actually play?
Absolutely. Right now, those boys that are in there right now, we have shot so much. That's been our focus this year, is just become better shooters. Once again, we have the 8 kids we think that can shoot the ball well from the outside, so we have been firing up a lot of threes, and we've been tracking and recording those numbers. But yeah, that's one thing that's going to help us is having those guys there, and we fully expect. In our minds, and coaches, we think we're going to play 4 games without them. The football boys have been so successful the past couple 2-3 years, or even further than that. So we just got to go in thinking we're going to play 4 games without them, and we're going to have to do the best we can and fight to do the best that we can during that time period.
Oh, so the plan is to play the Savannah tournament regardless of – okay.
Yeah, because we could we change the Jefferson game and the Savannah games, and then you're scrunching all those games if you want to keep those games, and you're playing a lot of 3-week games, and that is very hard. To go on the road, 2 nights and then 1 night at home, or it's bad enough in a tournament when you got to go 3 games away, but to play that many games that we'd have to play 3 games, it's not easy, and it's not good. You have injuries, and then you need those times, and those kids need a little bit more time in between games.
Could that end up really benefiting you guys then down the road? If you do end up playing that, to have a guy like Jaden or somebody like that playing instead of Eli or instead of Tate or stuff like that, will that be important for them to kind of get that confidence up? I know we talked about it a lot with football, with Eli being out and Connor Weiss and Ben Walker being out, other guys gaining that confidence. Will that be important to not only have that confidence in practice, but have that confidence against other teams for that bench unit especially? Yeah,
we think so. With those kids getting those minutes and that confidence that comes with it, because we think if we could be the very best that we could be at the end of the season, we have 8 kids or 9 kids, or who knows at the end of the season, but you have these number of kids that all are feeling very good about themselves, and they have had a lot of success, and we think that those 4 games could give us that. Whether we end up on top, went up 2-2, or where we end up 4-0, 0-4, whatever, that doesn't really matter. As long as those kids have great games and gain some confidence in those games, at the end of the year, we think that will really help us.
And we saw an example of that last year with Eli missing early because of another knee injury in football, and Tate Oglesby was the one that really stepped up and had some huge scoring games, and that obviously translated into the rest of the season. Aside from that, though, who are some all those 8 players you mentioned are guards for the most part. So if you do face somebody where you need a little bit more bulk in there, or do you have some guys who have stood out a little bit in practice or even in JV last year that hopefully can step in and do some of that dirty work inside for you and limit a guy like that? Yeah,
one of the kids, Talon Nolan, is a junior. Played some post for us this summer, played JV varsity. Looking for him, that he might have to be the one that has to come up and play some of that time. But like I said, it's just hard to tell until we get everybody back there. I was making our lineup, and there's so many G's for guards and not very many F's for forwards. And Mark Gustafson's another one, a young guy. I mean, he just keeps getting taller and taller and taller. I saw him at church the other day, and he's the tallest head in that building, and he could be a factor, hopefully. And you never know when. He's pretty raw, but he's got some talent there that we got to work with.
Yeah, seeing him stand on the football sideline, there's a helmet that's just up there above everybody else's, and that's Mark over there. So.
And kind of that's definitely reassuring to you to have a couple guys that if you need to bring in, you can, to kind of play those bigger roles. But not to beat a dead horse here, but the story kind of looks like your team is going to be very quick moving, a lot of guys contributing. One of the things that's very interesting to me is you talking about having 8 guys that can shoot, and especially maybe playing a couple games without those football guys. Does that give your team a lot of confidence as moving into closer games, end of the season games, where you've got 8 guys that can take that last shot and be confident in doing so to kind of put you guys where you need to be?
Oh, yeah. We'll play some teams that we know who's going to be the guy that's going to shoot that ball. And I think a lot of people think it might be Eli or Tate, but, we've got other guys out there. Tyler Houchin, I mean, the kid can just shoot. And then, Creed Matthew also. This first week of practice, they've been just shooting so well. At one point, I think, during practice, Creed had 9 in a row, hitting threes, and just – they all can shoot the ball really well. Like I mentioned, Tylen Perry, he's also shooting the ball much better than he ever has in the past, and that's much tougher to guard. You cannot narrow it down on 1 or 2 guys, and then you hope these early games give those other kids confidence. I can shoot the ball if I'm needed to at the end of the ball game, and give you a much better chance to win.
Yeah, and spreading the floor like that, I think, will definitely give you guys that edge, even if you have to play a team with a bigger guy, like we said earlier, spreading the floor and giving all those guys better opportunities.
It's the formula that's worked for Northwest pretty good in the last few years, so can't argue with that. You've also got, though, one of those guys spreading the floor is Creed, like we mentioned a few times. The coach point guard father-son relationship going on there. So how much fun has that been to have Creed? He'll have an even bigger role this year, obviously, and how much fun has that been to balance that with your son, obviously, out there?
Oh, it's a lot of fun. You get to go to practice, and then your son's also there, so that's always exciting. And just watching his development, and his ball handling is just really, really good. And I think with him, if he just start believing in himself a whole lot more, he could be. I mean, I've seen stretches in last year's games where he would just hit a shot, he'd make a move, he'd drive, he'd do this, he would dish it to this kid. And the more he believes in himself, the better our team will be, because then he can bring that much more.
Yeah, if people haven't seen that, just Creed's ability to find guys. We saw it last year in the Hogan Prep game with the big alley-oop to Eli Dallas, and all those guys kind of being connected there has really helped going into hopefully another great season for you this year. But we thank you for joining us today, Coach, and appreciate you coming in here on a Sunday afternoon, and we look forward to seeing what you guys can do this season.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
That is it for our episode today. As always, I'm Aaron Sorensen, joined here with John Dykstra on the Maryville Forum Sports Podcast.
Bringing you all the latest Nottoway County High School and Bearcat sports each week.
10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45.
Starring Aaron Sorensen and John Dykstra on the Maryville Forum Sports Podcast.
He ran it back 109 yards. They're not going to keep him off the field.
Coming to you from the campus of Northwest Missouri State University.